Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lin. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. US and EU hit Russia with new sanctions. Trump targets energy firms. Moscow warns of retaliation as oil prices surge. US and Colombia tensions escalate as Trump calls his counterpart Petro a thug. Bogotá condemns the US's drug smuggling strikes. Prime Minister Modi to join ASEAN-India summit virtually. The External Affairs Minister EAM Shankar will attend the East Asia summit in Kuala Lumpur. India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh unveils the Defense Procurement Manual of 2025 to boost indigenization. The United States and the European Union have imposed new sanctions on Russia to pressure President Putin into a Ukraine ceasefire. Trump's first sanctions since returning to office, they target energy firms Rosneft and Lukoil. Well, the EU's 19th package of sanctions, it bans Russian LNG imports. Now, Moscow has called the US measures counterproductive and has warned the EU also of painful response over asset seizures. Oil prices have surged following the sanctions.
The postponement of US President Donald Trump's planned meeting with Vladimir Putin, coupled with Washington's new sanctions on Russia's oil companies, EU's approval of its 19th sanctions package, and Moscow conducting a major training exercise involving nuclear arms, indicate a significant setback for peace efforts in Russia-Ukraine conflict. United States hit Russia's major oil companies with sanctions on Wednesday, accused the Russians of a lack of commitment towards ending conflict in Ukraine. Russia's two largest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, were targeted by the US in sanctions. Announcing the measure, US Department of Treasury said in a statement, "Today's actions increase pressure on Russia's energy sector and degrade the Kremlin's ability to raise revenue for its war machine and support its weakened economy. The United States will continue to advocate for a peaceful resolution to the war, and a permanent peace depends entirely on Russia's willingness to negotiate in good faith."
Look, these are tremendous sanctions. These are very big. Those are against their two big oil companies, and we hope that they won't be on for long. We hope that the war will be settled.
Trump's move was hailed by Ukraine's European allies, including NATO.
So, and clearly he was stating this weekend, I want the war to end, I want a ceasefire, I want the killing to stop. So his position here, and I completely support this, is, as he said, stop where you are. So as both to the Ukrainians as well to the Russians.
Besides the US, EU countries on Thursday formally adopted a 19th package of sanctions against Russia. Sanction includes a ban on Russian liquefied natural gas imports. Ukrainian President Zelensky, who traveled to Brussels for talks with European leaders, applauded EU's and United States' latest move against Moscow.
This decision of 19th package of sanctions is crucial for us. Thank you so much. And today it goes together with the yesterday's decisions of President Trump on energy, also sanctions package. We waited for this. God bless, it will work. And this is very important.
However, Moscow asserted that US energy sanctions were extremely counterproductive. Russia also warned of painful response to any move by the European Union to seize its frozen assets.
Any confiscatory initiatives from Brussels will inevitably result in a painful response. We will act in full compliance with the principle of reciprocity in international relations based on our own interest and the need to compensate Russia for the damage caused.
России ущерб.
On the other hand, Beijing stressed on dialogue and negotiation to resolve the Russia-Ukraine conflict, saying it opposes unilateral sanctions. These sanctions represent a significant policy reversal for President Trump, who had previously prioritized trade measures over sanctions against Russia for conflict in Ukraine. Sanctions also prompted oil prices to rise by more than 5% on Thursday. Fuzail Ahmed reports for DD India.
At the invitation of Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will virtually attend the 22nd ASEAN-India Summit on the 26th of October. The Prime Minister and the ASEAN leaders will jointly review the progress in the ASEAN-India relationship. They will discuss initiatives for strengthening the comprehensive strategic partnership. Strengthening the relationship with ASEAN is a key pillar of India's Act East policy and Indo-Pacific vision. The External Affairs Minister S. Shankar will represent India at the 20th East Asia Summit in Kuala Lumpur on the 27th of October. And the East Asia Summit will provide an opportunity to deliberate on the challenges to peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh released the Defense Procurement Manual 2025 at a function in New Delhi on Thursday. Effective from November 1, 2025, the new procurement manual will facilitate the revenue procurement amounting to approximately 1 lakh crore rupees by the three services and other establishments under the Ministry of Defense. Appreciating the efforts of the Ministry of Defense and Headquarters Integrated Defense staff for the revision of the manual, the Defense Minister expressed confidence that the new manual will simplify the procedures, bring uniformity in functioning, and will be helpful in providing goods and services required by the armed forces for operational preparedness. The second edition of India's Navy's Biennial Commanders Conference 2025 is being held over a period of 3 days in New Delhi from the 22nd to the 24th of October. The conference assumes greater significance in the backdrop of Operation Sindoor and the Navy's high tempo of operations and combat preparedness. Addressing that conference on Thursday, the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said that Operation Sindoor was a symbol of India's willpower and capability and a message to the world that we're always ready to respond to every challenge. The Defense Minister commended the Indian Navy for creating a deterrent posture that in fact forced Pakistan to remain in the harbour or near its coast, asserting that the world witnessed the operational readiness, professional capability and strength of the Navy during the operation. He described the Indian Navy's presence in the Indian Ocean region as a matter of comfort for the friendly nations and discomfort for those who seek to destabilize the region. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. Modi's Mission, that's a book by Burjis Desai tracing Prime Minister Modi's journey. It's to be launched in Mumbai on Friday. High-level US officials are working to preserve the fragile Gaza ceasefire.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, it's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. A new book titled Modi's Mission, authored by the renowned lawyer and writer Burjis Desai, will be released on Friday in Mumbai by the Maharashtra Governor Acharya Devvrat and the Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. The book, it traces the Prime Minister's inspiring journey from a humble childhood that was in Vadnagar to his emergence as the country's leader.
Author Burjis Desai describes Modi's mission not as a biography, but as a story of an idea, the idea of national resurgence and self-reliance. The book explores the formative experiences from Modi's early years that shaped his views on governance, leadership and social transformation. It also reflects on how the Prime Minister, despite facing challenges and criticism, rose as an instrument of national awakening.
It is to explain his personal spiritual journey, the mindset which evolved during extremely hard conditions during his childhood, which still people do not know. How he left home permanently at 17, his sadhana and siddhi during those 2.5 years when he was in the Himalayas and in the northern parts of the country, and all the spiritual experiences he had. And then how he has implemented this mindset, this idea of what motivates him is service. It has been a continuous story of service and sacrifice.
The author examines major policy milestones, including the formalization of India's economy, the abrogation of Article 370, and the government's push for transparent and result-oriented governance. Desai also discusses what he calls the false narratives spread by a section of the intellectual class attempting to discredit Modi's leadership.
The palpably false narratives which have been spun by a section of the intellectual elite, the Western media and some of our left-leaning historians, who obviously cannot assail his impeccable integrity and his administrative acumen and his relentless hard work and all. He is a transformative leader, and one day he will be judged on par. The Mahatma will be remembered for 1947, and when Viksit Bharat happens, Modi will be remembered for 2047.
A Mumbai-based lawyer and a former journalist, Burjis Desai brings his sharp analytical lens to present Modi's mission as an engaging account of the Prime Minister's methodical approach towards strengthening India's civilizational identity and building an efficient welfare state. Shama Mishra's report from Mumbai for DD India.
Well, the book Modi's Mission has been authored by the renowned lawyer and writer Burjis Desai, and he spoke exclusively to Shama Mishra. Let's listen.
Noted lawyer and acclaimed author Burjis Desai is with us, and he has written yet another book on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is the first one on Prime Minister, but yes, he has been writing earlier as well, and the book is called Modi's Mission. Sir, welcome to DD India. We have seen several other books on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What inspired you to write on Prime Minister, and how is this book different from the already existing ones?
So this book is not another biography of the Prime Minister, nor is it about his politics or election campaigns or any of his present-day political opponents. As a matter of fact, none of them are even mentioned in the book. It is motivated by two reasons. Firstly, that as we are in the midst of a lot of events happening in the midst of history, we are unable to fully appreciate what position Narendra Modi will ultimately hold in the history of modern India. And secondly, we also underestimate the sheer enormity of the task he has done over 24 years of elective public office which he has held. 13 years as Gujarat CM and 11 years as PM, where he puts in 16 hours a day and with hardly 4.5 hours of sleep, and flits from subject to subject affecting every aspect of national life. So it is to explain his personal spiritual journey, the mindset which evolved during extremely hard conditions during his childhood, which still people do not know. How he left home permanently at 17, his sadhana and siddhi during those 2.5 years when he was in the Himalayas and in the northern parts of the country, and all the spiritual experiences he had. And then how he has implemented this mindset, this idea of what motivates him is service. It has been a continuous story of service and sacrifice for all these years, because even before elective public office, for 30 years he was a pracharak and a BJP functionary, where again he put on this same 24/7 service. So it is to explain how he has been a transformative agent, one who has uplifted the collective consciousness of Indians beyond party political lines. And then it has been analyzed the way he transformed Gujarat, the challenges he faced, and then things like how 370 came to be abrogated. And I have also traced the history of Kashmir and all these other places from 1948 onwards, without the usual whitewash which is put on it by some of our historians. And he's dealing with the judiciary, he's dealing with all the governance achievements which he has made in making India the fastest growing large economy, digitalization of the economy, direct benefit transfer, the whole welfare state. We are unable to appreciate the staggering welfare state which is evolving every day. But more importantly, the second reason behind writing this book is that whilst I was researching for this book, I realized the palpably false narratives which have been spun by a section of the intellectual elite, the Western media and some of our left-leaning historians, who obviously cannot assail his impeccable integrity and his administrative acumen and his relentless hard work and all. So they raise this question of secularism, and what they mean by secularism, by whether it is appeasement or whether it is sterilization or negation of history, etc. So it has been a candid analysis, and I belong to a minority community. I'm not a Hindu. And I'm almost a near retired lawyer with no axe to grind. So I felt that somebody should speak out and understand that he's a transformative leader, and one day he will be judged on par. The Mahatma will be remembered for 1947, and when Viksit Bharat happens, Modi will be remembered for 2047.
Also, you mentioned about a part where the falsehood narrative which is being spread by the India's intellect. How do you address this particular point in this book, and how do you want the readers to actually understand this aspect?
So subject-wise and event-wise, I have analyzed the various narratives. What is the evidence on record? What are the facts? And how all this has transpired for a dispassionate reader, as I said, across party lines, to understand and note the sheer intellectual dishonesty of a section of the elite and also some of our left-leaning historians who have always tried to put a spin on it. And instead of being, I wouldn't use the word grateful, but instead of appreciating what a transformative change he has brought about in the country, which will be appreciated maybe a few years later when we'll be more dispassionate about it. And I do believe that 50 years later, Narendra Modi will be judged in a he will be regarded as iconic, and he'll be judged very differently.
Okay. So he'll be judged differently, and obviously this is with the mind, with the fact that you want the young readers also to read what is actually going on, what he's doing for the nation. For young readers and even the people who are elder, how do you see those, especially with having different political views, to read to read your book and to understand what is actually being done by a Prime Minister?
So as I said, the book is not about politics. Not even a single political opponent is even mentioned by name. So the whole idea is to show his governance of what he has achieved in various aspects of life, which cuts across party lines. So if somebody is really dispassionate, he may or may not be a voter of the BJP, or he may not be voting for the Prime Minister. But yet, here is an iconic leader who has done things for the country. And you may not agree with his entire philosophy or political philosophy or the manner in which his party thinks. You cannot fail to appreciate what a person has done if you are truly dispassionate.
All right. Thank you very much for talking to us. So that was Burgess Desai, who has written the book on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Modi's mission, and we will have that copy soon and understand what actually has been written in that book. With camera person Kapil Maske, this is Shama Mishra for ED India, Mumbai.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is on an official visit to Germany. During his visit, the minister engaged in a roundtable discussion with CEOs of the German Mittelstand, the small and medium enterprises there, and Indian businesses as well. Minister Goyal, he highlighted the vast opportunities that India offers in innovation and sustainable manufacturing and discussed ways to deepen collaboration between Indian and German companies. Earlier in the day, Minister Goyal met with the Federal Minister for Economic Affairs, Catherine Reichel. And the two leaders, they discussed ways to strengthen bilateral economic ties as well as enhance technology collaboration.
I am delighted to be a part of the Berlin dialogue, but on the sidelines have a number of engagements with businesses in Germany. I had a very good meeting with the Honorable Minister, my counterpart of Germany, this morning, and I see a tremendous potential to further the business, trade, investment between Germany and India, who's already our largest trading partner in the EU. There's a lot of excitement about the potential of investing in India. There's a lot of potential between the MSMEs in India.
The two-day visit of Minister of Commerce and Industries Piyush Goyal is seen as a significant step in advancing India's trade relations with Germany and the wider European Union, paving ways for stronger industrial and business partnerships in the years ahead.
Well, India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, who is on an official visit to Germany from October 23 to hold important meetings designed to facilitate high-impact interactions with senior government officials there, industry leaders, as well as business associations in both countries to boost the Indo-German relationship. Now, on the sidelines, the minister spoke to the DD India correspondent. We saw her there, Sonika Raina. Let's listen to what he said.
To tell us something about the ongoing US-India trade negotiations.
We are in dialogue with the United States of America. Our teams are engaged. We recently had the Commerce Secretary visit the US and he met with his counterparts. We continue to engage with them and talks are progressing.
High-level U.S. officials are working to preserve the fragile Gaza ceasefire. The Vice President of the U.S., J.D. Vance, says that Israel will not annex the West Bank. And the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, warns that such moves could threaten Trump's peace plan. Vance also spoke of progress on an international stabilization force, as Israel's finance minister has rejected any Saudi deal tied to a Palestinian state.
As top US officials visit Israel to push for lasting peace with key issues including Hamas disarmament, Israeli troop withdrawals and the future governance of Gaza, Vice President J.D. Vance said on Thursday that Israel will not annex the West Bank. The statement came a day after the Israeli Knesset gave preliminary approval to a bill applying Israeli law to occupied West Bank, effectively a step towards annexation.
The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also warned that the Knesset annexation efforts could endanger President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. Rubio's visit follows Vice President Vance's meeting with Israeli leaders to advance Trump's peace plan. As part of ceasefire efforts, Vance said significant progress has been made on the composition and structure of an international stabilization force.
We've made a lot of progress in understanding what the composition of the ISF would look like and understanding what would be necessary for it to actually be effective, and then just to understand how Central Command is going to work with the troops who are going to actually be on the ground. Again, no American troops on the ground, but American troops supervising and mediating the peace.
US officials are making frequent visits to discuss post-war governance plans. Meanwhile, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Somek on Thursday rejected any Saudi normalization deal tied to the establishment of a Palestinian state.
If Saudi Arabia says to us normalization in exchange for a Palestinian state, friends, no thank you. Continue riding camels on the sand in the desert. And Saudi Arabia, we will continue to develop really with economy and society and the state and all that great and wonderful things that we know to do.
Washington's intensified diplomacy marks its push to stabilize the region, but divisions over annexation and Palestinian statehood continue to challenge hopes for a lasting peace. Rabindran Chauhan's report for DD India.
Still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll get you an expert's take on the latest developments in the Russia-Ukraine conflict with US sanctions on Russian oil.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn, and we're joined by Ambassador Manjeev Singh Puri, former senior diplomat, and he's going to help us understand what's behind me, the US sanctioning Russian oil. Now, Ambassador Puri, can the US block Rosneft and Lukoil, Russia's two largest oil companies, from the international financial system? Can such a decision be unilateral? So we can't hear you. Perhaps your mic, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
So, Mark, you know, what you are asking is a question of whether it's valid in international law or not. But the fact is, laws are all unilaterally administered and done. And the US is the largest player in the world. They've sanctioned them. They will make it difficult to do dollar transactions through any route for these countries. The Europeans, who are playing a bit of footsie with the oil companies of Russia, will also find it difficult. Indeed, the British have already sanctioned these two companies. The Europeans are also following suit. So, you know, things are going to get tough for them. But what if the real question is, what does it mean for Russia and its pursuance of its war aims in Ukraine? That's something that we are in no position to judge. It's only the Russians who can judge, because till now they seem to think that they can just string along President Donald Trump and there's more to be gained. We'll just have to wait and watch.
But India and China, Ambassador Puri, are major oil importers. Will this, reshape the thinking, global alliances and things like that?
So, Mark, what should I say to you? I think I saw a tweet or something from Mr. Mukesh Ambani saying that we'll reduce the kind of imports that we are doing from Russian oil. Now, I don't want to get into the complicated game. I think India will continue to buy Russian oil as long as it's reasonable for us, because we need it for our domestic purposes. Remember, winter is coming and so on and so forth. But, there is geopolitics. Let's understand that right. And President Trump has gone about especially mentioning India. And, I'm not bothered about what they do to China. He's been mentioning India. And we also see that as we pursue a trade deal, etc., some degree of give is sometimes necessary. What would happen? What would be the impacts of that will all have to be assessed. Remember, yesterday when he announced these particular actions against these two big companies, oil prices spiked. So
Right.
there is a direct cost that everybody bears as a result of that. But what does it mean in terms of that particular action, the Russia-Ukraine kind of thing? It really is a question of the Kremlin taking its view on how long it can string President Trump. Is President Trump's patience running thin? The answer is yes, it is. But is he really in a position to do anything truly serious, i.e., go back towards what the Europeans want, or are his interests still in looking at Russia as a great business opportunity for himself, which is the starting point of the way he looks at things?
Ambassador Puri, now Russia calls the move extremely counterproductive. We know that Biden also had imposed sanctions. How is this different, we can ask. But you know, from the US point of view, what level of communication would he need to sustain or persist with the Russians to bring the Russians to the negotiating table?
You know, he's done literally, you can say, all he could. Invited President Putin to Alaska, gave him a red carpet treatment out there. There's a lot of talk about being willing to meet in Budapest or wherever else. He is interested. My understanding of all this is on his side and on the American side, there's a great deal of interest. Can the Americans simply get the Ukrainians to fold up, and that means the Europeans to fold up? The answer is no. Will the Russians be satisfied with that? It will depend on the way they see things, and do they think that there is more to be strung along? Remember, as winter is approaching, several elements of Ukraine become relatively easy and problematic. You hit power stations, you hit electricity lines, fuel dumps, etc. Makes life much more difficult. And if President Trump keeps saying, yes, I will let the Europeans do what they can to support you, but I won't give you Tomahawk missiles, then things aren't so very easy for the Ukrainians. But let's also remember, they've been through it for 2 years. They know this is a battle to the last Ukrainians. But they are also girded and they want to go ahead with it. And the Europeans, for all their various things, they are sort of convinced that, you know, it would be Russia unlimited if you didn't do anything to block them in Ukraine.
Well, Brent crude, you were mentioning the prices have shot up. Brent crude rose 4.8%. West Texas Intermediate jumped 5.2%. But both, you know, are between $60 and $65 still a barrel. So what do you see? I mean, where is this going? And who is it going to benefit in the end? And who is it going to hurt?
Look, the prices are fairly low as compared to kind of things that we saw, $90 a barrel, etc., a couple of years ago. So things are good that way. And therefore, these spikes are only what you may call relative. Who's going to benefit by all this? Look, at the end of the day, much of this game is politics. The question of being able to squeeze things out, what would the Americans like? Ideally, they would like the Europeans to buy all their oil from either the Middle East or from the United States. They would like even India and China to sort of shift and do what they can, because that is in the interest of American oil companies, let me say friends of President Donald Trump. But, you know, that's not an easy call, and it's not going to happen so very easily. If that could have been assured, the Russians would have come and said, okay, let's sign a deal. So this is a game that's going on in relative power structures. The Chinese, of course, as you know, even in the trade talks, they've been quite clear and said, okay, tit, and then there is tat coming from our side. So let's see what happens on this, what will be done. But as I said, my own belief is it's the Russians, the old players in the diplomatic game, unlike Mr. Trump, who thinks it's a real estate deal. Those old players are at it, making their own evaluations. Both President Putin and Mr. Lavrov and others are old players in this game. They will keep making these assessments. I hope they don't slip up, because, you know, this is always a slippery slope.
A final question, Ambassador Puri. The Europeans seem to be happy. But, you know, Moscow, where is it going now? I mean, will it be going closer to Iran, North Korea? We saw that happening over the last 2 years.
But, you know, Mark, this is an old story, isn't it now? It happened right in the beginning. Iranians supplying drones to the Russians, the North Koreans supplying soldiers, all of that. But the real game behind them, of course, is the Chinese. And will this put them more into their lap, as you say? Well, my answer is it would, but is it really correct and worth it? Look, I have a slightly different view from many others on all of this. My view is that the Europeans, along with the Americans and others, are better off keeping Russia in a space which you can't say friendly and allied, no, but in a space in which there is a degree of doing business, doing things, basically to keep them out of being in the Chinese lap. Because that is the larger issue for the United States as the global hegemon to play the game versus China. And Russia is a major player. Why are you letting them shift on the other side? But, neocon theories in the United States have all been about, in a sense, dismantling Russia. Unlike the old Dayton stories which said, we respect you, you stay in your own areas, that's your area of influence. President Trump, in a sense, likes that kind of thing, although he sees it from a purely perspective of business. And he sees Russia, big economy, lots of opportunities, his own old experiences of real estate in New York. The Russians were serious buyers out there. So it's a way of looking at it. And I'm afraid the leaders matter.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Manjeev Singh Puri, former ambassador of India. Thanks for being with us. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing booth-level party workers in Bihar under the Mera Booth Sabse Mazboot campaign reaffirmed the NDA's commitment to fulfilling the dreams and aspirations of Bihar's youth. He praised the enthusiasm of young participants in the interactive outreach initiative, which aims to strengthen the party's grassroots network. The Prime Minister also highlighted the benefits of GST reforms. The Railways Minister, Ashwini Vaishnav, visited the War Room of Rail Bhavan on Thursday, and he reviewed the Railways' preparations for the Chhath Puja. And he, in fact, interacted with officials, monitoring real-time train operations, assessing crowd management and also passenger facilities at key stations. The minister elaborated on plans to run additional special trains to strengthen coordination between zones and to deploy more staff to ensure safe, smooth and comfortable travel for passengers during the festive season and rush.
So 10,700 जो कि पहले से नोटिफाइड IRCTC के वेबसाइट पे पहले से नोटिफाइड है, जिनमें टिकट रिजर्व करके आप पहले से ले सकते हो, और जो सडन सर्ज आती है उसके लिए अबाउट 3,000 ट्रेन्स का प्रोविजन रखा गया है। ओवरऑल 13,000 की तरफ ये नंबर जा रहा है, मे बी इट विल इंक्रीज मोर। इस बार डेस्टिनेशन बहुत बढ़ा दिए, जैसे पिछले साल डेस्टिनेशन बिहार के 7 बड़े शहर थे, इस बार करीब 18 बड़े शहरों पर रखा गया। 18 लोकेशंस को बिहार के 18 लोकेशंस को डेस्टिनेशन रखा गया है।
On the occasion of International Snow Leopard Day, the Indian Army, in coordination with the Union Territory Administration of Ladakh, organized an awareness program on snow leopard conservation, an endangered species in Ladakh. With an estimated 477 snow leopards, Ladakh is home to 68% of India's population of this magnificent species. In Nepal, the 5-day Tihar festival concluded on Thursday with the celebration of Bhai Tika. And this festival, it's the final and most significant day. On the day, sisters apply 7 colors, tikkas, on their brothers' foreheads. In fact, offering garlands and festive treats while praying for their long life and prosperity. In return, the brothers bless their sisters with gifts and good wishes. The Mahadev temple in Rani Pokhari welcomed those without siblings to exchange tikka and blessings. Meanwhile, in Nepal's Terai region, women marked Bhai Dooj, also known as Bharditya or Bhatridya, with similar rituals celebrating the bond between brothers and sisters. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. King Charles and Pope Leo pray together in a 500-year first at the Vatican. Australia beat India in the second ODI as well in Adelaide.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, it's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Europe's top car makers, including Volkswagen and BMW, Mercedes as well, they've raised the alarm over potential production stoppages amid Chinese export ban on chip maker Nexperia. The move has disrupted vital chip supplies after the Dutch government seized control of Nexperia, citing intellectual property concerns tied to its Chinese owner, WingTech, which is on a US security risk list. The timing is critical as automakers rely on short-term chip inventories, leaving them particularly vulnerable to supply shocks.
The chips which are currently coming from Nexperia China are delivered to automotive tier 1 suppliers who are using these chips, which are not high-tech chips, but just very normal chips. And they are delivering pretty much to all the European manufacturers. So everybody who's buying Nexperia chips is actually affected. And this seems to be pretty much all of the European manufacturers.
Britain is drafting new powers to allow troops to shoot down unidentified drones threatening its military bases. The Defense Minister John Healey announced on Monday that the measures are in response to what is widely seen as a growing threat from Russia. He also stated that the Prime Minister is willing to consider deploying UK troops to Ukraine if necessary, a move he estimated would cost well over 100 billion euros.
Within weeks, we will now start to produce jointly with Ukraine in the UK, Ukrainian Octopus interceptor drones. Within months, we will establish the new UK Drone Centre. And within this Parliament, we will double investment into drones and other autonomous systems to more than £4 billion.
Qatar's Energy Minister Saad Al-Kaabi has said that gas-producing nations must take a firm stand against trade barriers and discriminatory measures that undermine energy products. Reiterating his opposition to the European Union's new sustainability law. Speaking on Thursday, Al-Kaabi stressed that the outlook for natural gas and particularly liquefied natural gas remains positive despite global geopolitical tensions and what he called faltering climate policies.
We must be clear in our position to trade barriers and discriminatory measures that disadvantage energy products, especially natural gas. Ladies and gentlemen, despite geopolitical tensions and faltering climate policies, the outlook for natural gas and particularly LNG is positive.
Let's take a look at other stories making news from around the world. The latest Asterix adventure, Asterix in Lusitania, launched on Thursday in 19 languages across 25 countries. This is for the first time in 66 years, the indomitable Gaul visits ancient Portugal, once known as Lusitania, filling a long-awaited gap in the iconic series created by René Goscinny and Albert Uderzo. After over 30 years on Boulevard Raspail, the Cartier Foundation is starting October 25 and it's relocating to the Palais Royal, which is in Paris. Situated near the popular Rue de Rivoli, the foundation, it aims to attract more visitors and showcases its collections in a prime central location. After Spain's deadliest flash floods in decades left homes destroyed near Valencia, survivors are turning to experts to save what little remains are their memories. The University of Valencia has launched Save the Pictures, restoring water-damaged photos from flood-hit families. In southern Mexico, a revamped facility is being built to produce a new plant to sterile screwworm flies. This is in fact this is a key weapon against the parasite threatening cattle as well as US-Mexico trade. Mexico aims to boost local production and speed up eradication efforts. This is a $51 million plant, and it's partly funded by the United States, and it's set to open next year. King Charles and Pope Leo, they prayed together at the Vatican Sistine Chapel on Thursday. This is a first joint worship that includes a British monarch and a Catholic pontiff since King Henry VIII broke away from the Church of Rome in 1534. Latin chants and English prayers echoed through the chapel, where the Pope was elected by the world's Catholic cardinal 6 months ago. Earlier in the day, Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla had a private meeting with Pope Leo at the Vatican. The Queen and the King, they are on a state visit to the Vatican, marking the closer ties between the Catholic Church and the Anglican Communion, 5 centuries after their turbulent separation.
Good morning. Welcome.
Such a pleasure to meet you.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for the sports news. The batter Matthew Short guided Australia to a 2-wicket win against India in the second one-day international at Adelaide. Short top scored with 74 runs, and Cooper Connolly, he remained unbeaten on 61 as the hosts chased down 265 runs in 46.2 overs. Earlier, Rohit Sharma hit a patient 73, and India posted 264 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in their 50 overs. Shreyas Iyer was also impressive in a 118-run stand with Rohit Sharma. The leg spinner Adam Zampa was the pick of the bowlers for the Australians, picking up 4 wickets for 60 runs in 10 overs. Australia have clinched the 3-match series 2-0, and they have won the opener as well in Perth. The Indian Cricket authorities have petitioned the country's top court to make match fixing a criminal offence in a bid to ramp up the pressure on illegal bookmakers and dubious players. The Board of Control for Cricket in India has argued in the Supreme Court that the act of match fixing constitutes a criminal offence. The BCCI said that it had stepped up measures to protect the sport. The BCCI's legal argument is that match fixing counts as cheating by deception, an existing offence under the Indian Penal Code, and therefore should be counted as a crime. The appeal stems from allegations of match fixing during a state cricket league in 2018-2019 in Karnataka involving 6 people, including 2 players, the coach and the team owner. The High Court is in the southern state, and it has dismissed it as a criminal case in 2022. It dismissed it in a criminal case in 2022. Now, India has been re-elected as the Vice Chairperson of the Conference of Parties Bureau to the International Convention Against Doping in Sport. This decision was taken during the 10th session of the COP10, which was held in Paris. In a statement, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports said that during the conference, India has facilitated provision of interactive boards displaying the journey of the Anti-Doping Convention. The ministry added that the conference focused on discussions including strengthening governance and financing the fund for the elimination of doping in sport and others. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.